Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. Zach here, back with Professor Dreg. Hope you're all doing well. Happy Tuesday, as of the recording of this. Real quick, before you guys go anywhere, I just want to say that, we're a little low on iTunes reviews. So if you could just go over to iTunes and leave us a review, that would be great. Simply because it gets us ranked. I know that there's a lot of people who tune into this somewhat regularly. So if it's not too much trouble, we'd like to hear your feedback. I want to thank Jenny for sending in an email. I know you send in a lot of emails to my personal inbox with a lot of feedback regarding Christianity, Bible verses, and you sent us an interesting thing on UFOs, so I thought we'd talk about that in a little bit thorough detail. Before I jump into that and give my opinion, because I do believe that UFOs and demonic possession are very, very synonymous. What are your thoughts, Professor?
Well, it's I'm new to this whole Christianity thing and the Bible thing, and we have somebody in the background agreeing that I'm new at this. But just from a scientific perspective, are UFOs possible? And the answer is, well, yeah, they're possible, but I honestly don't see. Okay, so let me just be really clear on this. I don't believe that UFOs would be a demonic possession of anything. But because we honestly don't, okay, so if UFOs are real,
yeah,
why would they be demonically possessed or angelic? Why can't they just be another race of people that are just coming here and they believe the same way we believe? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's always a big sort of aspect of debate in my head is like, do otherworld life forms exist? Because it's kind of like, I would like to think that the Bible would have covered that, but I don't know. I haven't.
In Genesis, everything is covered in Genesis. Like it's
aliens too?
Well, no, but God created all life in all universes.
Right.
So if there's all life in all universes, that means there's life in all universes. That's what that sentence means.
Uh-huh.
I mean, literally, that's why what happened to all the 6-day people? God killed them. Why? I don't know. But there's mentions of other being, because there's other gods. Like God said, don't worship other gods. He's the true God. All the other gods were fake.
Right.
But where are those gods? They weren't on earth. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I believe that the Bible is very clear that there's life on other planets and there's people pretending to be gods, but they're not gods.
Okay.
They just have technology.
Let's give the audience or people listening to this a little bit of context. So what someone sent in here, Jenny, thank you, Jenny, if you're listening to this, I know you listen to the show regularly, was a sort of a video documenting how UFOs are basically like alien possession, alien lobotomies, when people get abducted and all that, basically are demons that are conditioning people for more lives, because she wrote that the ultimate players in the universe is basically God versus the devil, God versus Satan, and basically us as humans were either saved by believing in God or we're deceived, right? And the thing is, anything that is not of God is of the devil. That's what the Bible talks about. There really is no middle ground to that. Hold on to your thought. I just want to give the listener some context here. Now, the idea is this. I wasn't really so much swayed by the science of UFOs. It's like, if that's the case, yeah, but the more important thing here is the fact that there are consistencies where prior to modern technology, when we were observing UFOs, people have always been demon possessed, right? And they've always been. It's weird how we're on the American Made in Page show where we're talking about the occult and we're talking about demons and stuff. But we have to
It's
talk.
all relevant.
It's all relevant because all of their documented experiences of being abducted or being possessed by demons are very synonymous, right? When aliens abduct people, they go crazy afterwards, almost like as if they are possessed. And they're more prone to mental illness, suicides, crazy mental attacks, that type of stuff that we've talked about when it's all part of the culture, right? Like, cultures or lifestyles that have no faith in them whatsoever, no God. I'm saying they're more prone to it. I'm not saying that if you don't have God, you're, demon possessed. That's not what I'm saying at all. So for all of you who are freaking out listening to this, that's not what we're saying. But there's synonymy between UFOs and people claiming to be abducted by aliens with people who have historically been demon possessed and all that. So that's the context that I want everybody to understand. I know we're talking about UFOs here and the validity of them, but as usual, when you've got a Christian on the show and a agnostic/atheist, ex-atheist who believes in the Bible, that's what you're gonna get. We're gonna talk about this because
Well, see, I believe in Jesus. I really do. I really do with all my heart.
You believe he's God, and you believe he.
Well, see, I don't believe he's God. I believe he's the Son of God.
But he's God. There is only one God. We're not, the Trinity, that's three distinct persons, but it's one God. So
yeah, see, but even that, I still believe Jesus is his own person.
Yes, that's correct. He is his own person.
But I believe he's the Son of God. But I also believe I hate to say things like this, but my gut is telling me Jesus was actually better than God. Only not God. That he created everything, but I'm telling you now, because you hate to say this, but the Old Testament gave a lot of bad instructions to the Jews, and that's why they were so confused. I mean, to this day, God, like I think we talked about this yesterday.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's just. Well, we have to get back on topic with UFOs, but the reason for that is because of the fact that if they had just been obedient and they were faithful, right? It's not about the instructions because it's more about believing, which means doing as you're told. That's the main thing here. That's the main subject of the history of the so-called nation of Israel and all that in the Old Testament. But how does that relate to your opinion on UFOs?
Into the whole UFO thing, because the Old Testament is filled with technological advances. It just is. The New Testament, not so much. and the thing is, when you have technology, and this goes back to what the listener Jenny sent in, one of the 10 things for the Armageddon and all this other stuff or whatever he was saying. See, but the Old Testament is nothing but technology. It's filled with a bunch of technology and facts about biology, physiology, physics that we weren't ready to receive. And as evidence, Moses became crazy with that knowledge. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't. It says so in the Bible. Aaron had to speak for him, because Moses' mind was off, literally. Because that's how technology works. But here's the thing. The Old Testament never says to love yourself. Never says it. So let me repeat that. The Old Testament never says to love yourself. Never gave the Jews that kind of instruction to love yourself. They were basically told to believe based on acts, like on your good works, your good deeds. But they never said to love yourself. And that's why so many Jews, like, Hitler was 25% Jewish. So, and he hated Jews.
Well, but he also rejected Christianity. So don't make this, I don't ever want to give the impression that people are saying, well, Nazism was based off of, no, there was no part of what Hitler's philosophy that was remotely Christian or Christ-like.
Well, technically, kinda. You know what he did?
Well, he bastardized it. It doesn't
exactly. The swastika is literally a cross, but turned. And what's a cross? two perpendicular lines that make like the cross tradition.
Correct.
The swastika is like a cross, but you just bend the ends. You know what I mean? And that's what he did. He bent his version of Christianity, what socialism is. Socialism is a bastardized form of Christianity. And get back to the American Made and Paid show, blah, 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 blah. But that's what it is. We break down economies. We break down political structures. Socialism is a bastardized version of Christianity. That's what Hitler did. But Hitler's roots is a self-hating Jew, because most Jewish people hate themselves.
Well, okay.
Ellen, look at Jerry Seinfeld. Their whole comedy is based on self-loathing. Oh, and that's all they do is hate on themselves. They don't hate others. They hate themselves. And that instruction was never given in the Old Testament. That's why Jewish people are always so self-deprecating and this and that. F that self-deprecating humor. That's for idiots, but
okay. Well, yeah, that gives a good perspective, but take it back to the UFOs.
So here's the thing. Are UFOs real? Yeah, not the way that is like the way UFOs, quote unquote UFOs, are described in the Bible. I believe that's real. And I believe we will never see anything like that.
Where are UFOs in the Bible? I don't know about that.
Well, they're not so much UFOs, but those mechanical wheels and things like that. When those angels came on those mechanical wheels and things like that, So that, in theory, a flying disc in the sky and whatever those flying metal wheels were, that could be a UFO. And that's the only evidence, I believe. Why? Because that description in the Bible, that mechanical wheel, actually gave rise to the forklift. I don't know if you know how a forklift drives, how the wheels move.
Yeah, sure.
That is literally the design as described as the Bible.
Okay, well that's a separate thing. But what about demonic possession and people who have been alien abduction? Because I think it is. I think it's deception. People get us to believe in this to take away from what is true.
Exactly. But that's my point. See, the whole thing about UFOs, it's an industry. You can make a boatload of money being a tarot card reader. And
so I'm glad you're bringing this up, because it talks a lot about false gods and fake gods.
But that's my point. It's an industry. So the UFO industry has been bastardized and that's why it goes into demonic possessions. So it's not that demons are putting stuff in people's head to make them think like aliens. No, people are greedy. The greed is what the demons look for. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you now, demons don't care about technology. They don't. They probably want us not to know about technology, because the technology out there is for our benefit. We just never understood it. Because so here's the main question is this. Why would God tell us all these things about these multi-universes that he created, all these life forms that he created? Why would he tell us all of this if it didn't exist? You know what I mean? And he wants us to know for a reason. But because we're greedy and hateful, like self-loathing, like the way the Jewish people are, and that's a true statement. I'm not being anti-Semitic, but it's the truth. The Jewish comedy has been in mainstream media. Why? Because they're self-hating people. As long as you're self-hating, the mainstream loves you. And the thing is like this, and I have no evidence, scientific, but I'm going to start working on it. I'm not kidding you. But here's the thing. What attracts demons? The carnal mind.
Right.
Carnal mind is where the demons don't control technology, but the carnal mind goes after those UFO believing weirdos who want to make a quick buck, exploiting people's, I don't want to say naivety or stupidity or gullibility, but it's the truth. It's like a lot of people who believe in God are going to believe in UFOs because they don't understand the technology or the science behind it. They probably never read the Bible. I'm guilty of that. I've never read the Bible, but
I mean, people who believe in that are people who are also on the same sort of wavelength when it comes to flat earthing. You know, that's another thing we got to talk about.
Well, you want to know what's funny? I forgot her name, but she's a very famous New Age person who wrote books on angels and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oprah?
No, some white lady. I know, because I'm shocked that Oprah is not a born-again Christian. She should, but she's not. But yeah, that actually surprises me. But somebody now is a born-again Christian because she renounced all her work in the past because she never read the Bible. Now that I read the Bible, everything is clear. But was she demon-possessed? I say yeah. Why? Because greed. No, like something like greedy people are possessed by demons. That's why, like Jerry Epstein, we talked about him.
Yeah.
Come on, and the thing is like this. Should people have mercy on guys like that?
No. So the big thing here, the big takeaway for our listeners is the way it makes sense, right? I don't want people to think demons as in you know, spiritual, like demon that's possessing you. Think of it as anything that you give more of yourself to that's
Catholics
not God.
Describe,
no. I know. I don't want people to think, oh, it's just a little monster that's inside you and causing you to do stupid things. But any form of idolatry is what leads to that. Because what you do is you open doors to being more easily manipulated. That's basically all it is. Because just think about this. If you're easily fooled by lies and you don't have that inherent foundation, right? Anything will sway you. And that's what we're talking about here. So when we say demon possessed, I want people to understand that it's not, I mean, it could be literal, but it's not. I don't want you to think it's like a physical manifestation, because if you're greedy and you're after money, then you're far more likely to be manipulated by money, because that's your carnal lust. Now, it's the same thing with women, right? So you're more likely to, I don't know, fall under the guise of a Jezebel. It's just how it works. And
well, but I will be very clear, because this is I mean, I
sometimes feel like, are we just talking nonsense on this show? Sometimes I ask myself, I mean, it's informative, but it's also like
no, because here's the thing, because people don't understand how particles work. Because the thing is like this: can a demon honestly be inside of a person, like manifest, like the way it's done in The Exorcist? I believe so. The same way how Jesus was put into Mary as a virgin, the same way a demon can do the same thing. Because why? They're from the same area. See, because this is the thing: when you really read Genesis and all this other stuff really carefully, you begin to realize that, because I haven't gotten to this part yet about how the devil did whatever his thing, you know, how he got kicked out of heaven. So the reason why the devil is so important is because that is the enemy from within. And that's the moral of that story. So the whole story of, like, God created a place where he lived, and his most favorite person turned on him. There's a very special and strong story about that. But God had other enemies. All these gods that didn't live where God lived. God created all these people, and God had a special place. The devil lived in that special place with God. And, you know, Satan or Lucifer, whatever. And then that guy got kicked out, turned into the devil. But all of these other gods that God keeps talking about, that God tells Moses about all this idolatry and all these other gods, those people live in other universes that God created. And they don't know God. Why? Because I don't know. You know?
I don't know about that, but, you know, I think.
But that's the thing. It's in Genesis. Like, if you read the book of, like, why would God tell Moses, don't worship these other idol gods? He told God and told Ramses.
Well, because they don't exist. They're deception. It's not of God. It's from the devil. It's not of.
Well, but the thing is, we don't know who. I mean, the only thing we know is God created it. That's the only thing we don't. We don't know if the devil has dominion over those quote unquote lesser gods. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, I'm of the belief, because, like, I read the Bible literally. I don't try to, you know, I just read it literal, because I honestly believe that is, like, the Old Testament. It's just a real story of science. It's not just a bunch of bullshit that we make up. Because it's not. It's like, literally, like, these things can be scientifically proven.
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk about things when people aren't trained in chemistry or science. Because think about
Well, it's also because there is unbelief already there manifested. So your scientific method's screwed up because people don't even want to look into it. That's the thing too.
But it's real simple. Think about this. We need sodium to live. But yeah, somehow, some way, when you put raw sodium in water, that shit blows up. But that's basic, simple chemistry. But yet, we are made up of mostly water, but we somehow, some way need sodium, and we make the two live together. And those are mysteries that, I mean, we understand those mysteries.
From a molecular standpoint, our justification is, well, they just work together, but we don't know why.
Well, see, but that's my point. God made this for a reason, so we can understand what kind of happened out there. So if we apply how our body works molecularly, then we can kind of understand where God's coming from. Because why is he a jealous God? Why? I don't think he's jealous like, oh, I'm so jealous. I don't think he's jealous like that. He's pissed off that we keep fucking up when he's done all these things and we don't know these things. You know what? No, but if I was God, I'd be like, fuck, I'm pissed. You know what I mean? But then that's why Jesus is so different than God. Because Jesus wasn't pissed. He's the one that said, love yourself. If you love yourself, then you'll have the keys to heaven. That's why that's the first thing. Love yourself first. And see, that's why I feel kind of bad for the Jews, because they were never given that instruction. Well, I mean, they were, but most of them didn't convert. They just stuck to the Old Testament and go, I ain't gonna, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't care if you're turning water into wine, which is another molecular miracle that could actually happen. You know what I mean? The math does work out when you start understanding the inverse theory of relativity. And why could Jesus do that? Why? See, what was the scientific reason? And there's reasons for all of this. Is he an alien? No, he's God. He comes from the same place. You know what I mean? And, I don't want to say he was smarter, but because that is a pretty big oversight. Why did it take so many thousands of years then I guess when you do the math, it kind of makes sense. It's like an instant. But but going back, why did these things happen? And that's the whole thing. It's like, I believe like a lot of these people, I don't like to jump around on the Bible. I like to just read the Bible as an entire book. Like how you did with Romans. I think it's very important because when you read the entire book, you have a better understanding of what Paul meant. And then it becomes like, oh, I get it. And it really resonates with the poor, because a lot of people, because the poor are uneducated. It's like, no, because the poor live through a lot of those situations that are addressed in Romans. Rich people, like, come on, did Paris Hilton really have to go through anything addressed in Romans? No. How would she know that she's living the way she's living with all of this? Because she was born into a whole bunch of carnal lust abundance, or just carnal-minded abundance. For her, it's normal. She grew up as a billionaire heiress. She had everything. Yeah. Not having things, not being, overeating, not being overly hypersexual, not caring about anybody else, being selfish. Those are all things she grew up in that. So how would she know anything about, and she's taught that God controls the carnal mind. Because why? All billionaires are taught that. God gave you this. God, but God didn't make you a billionaire, actually.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with that. But we're not taught that, because, when people, and a lot of pastors are guilty of this, they jump around. But anyway, going back to UFOs, because these are hard things to connect, and to going back to UFOs, I believe that they are like, okay, so after all of that explanation, I hope I'm clear on this. Modern day UFOs are demonically possessed. Why? Because for the same reason why greedy people, like, I hate to say things like this, but I believe Mark Zuckerberg is demonically possessed. Not like in exorcism and stuff like that, but if you understand how Jesus made water into wine, It's the same thing. Demons can do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of turning water into wine, they make people like Mark Zuckerberg into greedy little bastards who don't care about anybody else, because they know how to manipulate particles. And those particles somehow, some way get into the chemistry of whatever it is. Like Jesus was able to use his energy and transform water into wine. And it's actually because, we make water into wine all the time through grapes, fermentation, blah, blah, blah. But Jesus could accelerate it because he's God.
Right.
He comes from that place and that heaven. That's another universe where those people know how to manipulate the chemistry. And that also includes, because when you're making wine, a lot of nerves, like they call it neuron nets, like an animal or plant has a neuron net or whatever. So like the nervous system of a plant, how to manipulate that. And that's what pretty much Jesus did that. A demon can do the same thing to a human. You can do that to a human easily. And especially since God has no dominion over that. Which is kind of like shows like, how come Jesus didn't make people into good people? Yeah, because he doesn't have dominion over that. But who does? Demons do. So demons, the same way Jesus manipulated the water and turned it into wine, or multiplied the fish or the breads, whatever it is, the same mechanisms that happened, it also applies to demons when it comes to anything in the carnal mind. That's how science works.
I think that's where people get very, very easily fascinated into it, because it's a pull effect. You know what I mean? And
yeah. No, exactly. And they get suckered into it, but
I know. And that explains it all. I don't know if you saw this online a couple of weeks ago, but there was the whole, hey, let's all invade Area 51. They can't stop us.
Yeah.
Like the guy but no, that's the perfect example of it, because the guy who made it up, he's like, no, I'm joking. But 2 million people or something, right, saw it, and like they're like 200,000 people, and the town next to Area 51 were prepping for like just a barrage of people, and even the Air Force had to respond and said, like, y'all can't do this. I mean, we conduct like bombs and test sites and stuff, and we do trainings there, right? But it's not about whether it happens or not. My point is how people responded to it. Let's stomp Area 51. They can't stop us all. What did you get in the span of 24 to 48 hours? 200,000 plus people are like, oh, let's do this,
And then so the natural question would be, well, why would Professor Drake think all those people are demon possessed? Because it's driven by money or greed or something in the carnal mind. Because why do people want to believe in UFOs the way they do? Why? Because for some odd reason, they think they'll be blessed with something greater than what they got here on Earth. So,
not a bad way to put it. Yeah.
But it's the truth. I mean, and that's the thing. I'm telling you now, heaven, I can't prove it because I haven't read the Bible yet. But I'm telling you now, this is heaven. This is our heaven. This literally is our heaven, because as Moses proved, we cannot like our bodies cannot make that type of travel to heaven or whatever. I mean, only God can do something like that. And I think when the time comes, God will bring a certain amount of people, because I don't think he's going to overflood heaven with a whole, like his heaven with a whole bunch of people. It's impossible. You know what I mean? No, I guess nothing's impossible, but the thing is, this planet is already paradise. It really is. And the thing is, because, so like, I agree with that one pastor dude on a lot of things. Like, we're never going to run out of food. We can't.
He called some of that stuff.
Yeah, no, I went through all this stuff. It's the truth. Yeah. We will never run out of food. Our climate will always be perfect. Always, no matter what we do, we will always have good climate. So the temperature goes up 1 or 2 degrees, even better for us. The penguins down south don't have to struggle so much. Because I don't know if people know, but the penguins, because they live in the Arctic or Antarctica on the South Pole, they struggle to survive because it's so cold. But guess what? If it gets a little warmer, man, those penguins are going to be thriving. And so, you know what I mean? So global warming would actually help them out. But I don't think God wants them to live. So, you know, that's why they haven't been able to move out from the Antarctic and somehow, some way adapt to living in, I mean, I don't know why they live in such cold areas if it's such a struggle. You know what I mean? But that said, our planet is paradise, even though it's harsh. Like, because you know, I keep hearing that deGrasse Tyson dude. What's his name?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh, you know, it's such a hostile planet. We're so lucky to be alive and blah, 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 that there's no way there's God because this planet is so hostile. It's everywhere we go, we can die in an instant. But that's the testament to God that we're not dead, because he's right. We should be dead, blah, 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 because of all of the nuclear, like natural nuclear.
Also, let's keep in mind something else too that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
I think if God didn't make humans the master of all animals, animals would have stomped through and killed us. Like animals, if you think about it, like, yeah, if you piss off a lion, it'll probably kill you. But God also made humans to rule over animals, so that even in the most primal of times, animals don't seek you out to kill you. Now, you throw yourself in the lion's den, yes, you're probably going to get killed, but animals don't seek out humans to kill them. You see what I mean? But in a world where it's survival of the fittest, or you want to put it that way, you would have been dead a long time ago.
Think about this though. Using Christianity, Christian principles, we can control every living animal alive. Like, look at the Siegfried and Roy. They treat their animals right. Those animals do tricks for them. No, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? But they don't. Yeah. They don't.
But that's something that God explicitly put, was we have mastery. We actually have domain over animals. So when people say, I can't stand it when people are like, they don't care about, like, in politics, like illegal immigrants or anything like that, but they're like, no, but we got to save the lions or whatnot. I'm like, dude, you will be pro-choice, but you're like, we got to save the animals. I never get that when people are like, save the animals, but we're not going to save our own babies. Like, that's.
No, and then they're okay with making monkey human embryos, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's insane. Like, like, oh God, like, because, you know, they don't talk much about the Gilroy shooter, but you know, the Gilroy shooter is clearly leftist. You know,
so it's funny how we talked about video games. That was brought up. I think something about Trump, relating to a Trump tweet or whatever, which was just the amount of video games being played is what created these shooters. And when I saw that, I was like, called it. I mean, like,
yeah, dude, I'm telling you now,
called it. Like, why is it that we say things and then after that it's like,
because you're connected. I'm telling you now. You know.
I said that, and I literally saw like a political pundit or something or whatever, where it was just like someone was blaming the shooter's violent acts not on political affiliation but video games, and I'm like, I've been saying that for months. The reason why these kids go crazy, and that's another carnal lust, that violence. Because here's the thing, we all like, what is a police officer gonna say when they investigate this? What's the motive? Right. And it's, in a weird way, that's a prejudicial statement, because you're thinking like, well, was this kid troubled or abandoned father? And those could all be the case. But sometimes this is where people get deceived. It's the most benign things. Video games. Oh, video games never hurt anybody. But I mean, if you're doing that like 20 hours a day, you don't have a job, you don't have a girl, like, I mean, like, I'm telling you right now. And when I said this to you months ago for the first time, and I said, I've never seen kids get as angry as they do. And I used to be one of those kids when they played video games. There's some truth to that. Like, it'll make you crazy.
No, but I believe it's absolute truth now. See, now I believe it's absolute truth.
Now it's true. Because
no, it's absolute truth. Just, you know why? Because when you told me the whole thing about, see, now I'm starting to understand, like, Christianity. Think about this. When you're playing those video games, because it's part of the cardinal. Okay, so in the carnal mind is 100% absolute carnal, the human mind, because God loved us so much. He gave us total control of ourselves, right? But because he fucked up somehow and giving the Jews bad instructions, he loved us so much, he told his own kid, hey, you know what? You're going to Earth and you're going to teach these humans how to live life properly. And then he still kills his son.
Well, you're going to die is what's going to happen.
No, but my point is this. Until Jesus came and brought down and told everybody to love yourself, that's the whole thing. And the thing is like this. Are you honestly loving yourself if you're playing a video game that has violence, even for 10 minutes? Is that really loving you? And the answer is no. Of course it's not. But that's why. And this is the thing, like, it always tripped me out. But I'm understanding this now. Instead of making us like a lion or a monkey, he gave us our own freedom. And that's the greatest gift you can give to anybody. But our enemies are always trying to take away your freedom. And who is that? The demons. And who's susceptible to most demonic possessions? Well, I mean, progressives, atheists, people like that. Why? Because they don't know any better. So everything they do seems normal because you're not hurting, quote unquote, anybody. But it's like a demon's job to get you to hurt yourself. Because if you could hurt yourself, you will eventually hurt others. That's just how it works. Even if you commit suicide, you're hurting tons of people. You do more damage through suicides, through abortions. Look at abortions. Abortions are killing the Black community. All those unborn babies have a ripple effect in the Black community. Why? Because it teaches Black men, I can have sex with all the women I want, don't have to be responsible because it's gonna be aborted anyway. Mm-hmm. And then when one of these women decide to have the baby, guess what? He's already been conditioned not to be a dad. That's what abortions do. That's what suicides do. It teaches and conditions the mind to not like yourself. And if you can't like yourself, there's no way you can love yourself. And when you don't love yourself, you're going to look for easy ways to make money. One of the easiest ways to make money is to be one of them demon-possessed UFO kind of people. You know who's the most famous one? I love this guy. His name is something Martin. What's his name? Something Martin. He was a Black dude. And no, but it's the funniest thing because his whole shtick was pretending to be abducted by a UFO. And this, Riley Martin. Look up Riley Martin. And if you look up Riley Martin, that dude was masterful at his bullshit. He used to make these drawings with people and say, I'll sell it to you for $55 and you'll get a special trip into the mothership when it comes down. But people, dude, that's how he was making his money. Because he didn't care. He was just a bare knuckle fighter in the old days. And, he was just a stupid dude, but he found his shtick. And a lot of people followed him. And he was on radio shows, magazines, because, he found prominence in the UFO community. It's just a way for people to make money. Just a whole bunch of lonely people who are unguided. And they're going to fall for a guy like Riley Martin. And it's if you hear him on Howard Stern and TV, because they were just joking on him, but because you hate to say things like this, but it's the truth. Howard Stern is a Jewish person whose shtick is all about making fun out of himself, hating himself, right? And because he hated himself so much, and he was addicted to porn, all this other stuff, so because of that, his fans made Riley Martin even that much more famous. And even though people who take UFO seriously, they hated it because it just made him more into a joke. But when demons control the carnal realm, it's what happens. So the serious UFO people were working hand in hand with the buffoons like Riley Martin, and and combining their forces and scamming even more people, giving them more credibility, making more money on stupid, like selling charms and drawings to get your way into the mothership when the earth is destroyed. And that's the thing. People who believe in UFOs believe the earth will be destroyed. And that's the thing. Like, nobody says that clearly. Why do people believe in UFOs? Because demons want you to believe we're going to run out of oil. We're going to run out of fresh water. We're going to run out of fruits and vegetables.
Right.
It ain't going to happen. Never. It will never happen. We will always have food. We will always have water. We will always have energy. We just will.
Mm-hmm.
Always. If a lion goes away, guess what? Another species will take its place. It's what happens. I forget the number, but somebody says like 10,000 different species go extinct every day. And guess what? 10,000 new ones pop up just like that. It's just how it happens. And I mean, you know, it was done by God did it, but you know what I mean? But nobody ever says that, because it doesn't make any sense. Why does that happen? How come the environment doesn't stay the same? Because God had foresight that we do impact the environment when we cut down all the trees. So God made species that can live without trees.
Mm-hmm.
But the constant is always going to be whales. Why? I have no idea. But for some reason, God made whales as a reminder to us for something. And these beasts live for thousands of years. Or at least from what we know, 1,100 years. And they don't know if that's the oldest or the youngest, but they found one and they tested its eye, and 1,100 years old, this fucking whale. It's insane. But that's the whole thing. It's maddening to me, this whole UFO controversy. Look, they're real because the design was in the Bible. That's how we got forklifts. The multi-moving wheel, the way it moves, like perpendicular and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's how these wheels made. And it was described in the Bible, like those 4 flying discs, and it moved like this and it circle like that. It actually works.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. So it's like, I don't believe, like, you know, I would disagree with that guy and say, oh, technology. No, the Bible is very technical. We just don't read it as a technical book. For some reason, God gave us to read, like, okay, so the thing is Tower of Babel. Why was God pissed? Because those dudes ran wild with technology. They were doing it to be gods themselves.
Right.
That's not right. So he killed them. Or not killed them, but he made them speak different language. He confused them. He took it away. And that's why, another reason why Jesus had to come down. Because if you love yourself, you're going to realize, hey, look around you. We didn't make these trees. We have no idea what these trees do. But we're going to, you know, respect it, appreciate it, and be thankful for what we got. Because how often do we ever give thanks and say, hey, thanks for what you did. Thanks for letting me use it. Nobody ever says thank you. They feel like, yeah, that's mine because it's mine. You know what I mean? but that's how come people get tricked. I'm telling you now, the science is there because all the things that Jesus did, like the quote unquote parables, it's real science. You can do that. We can do that. You know, we know the chemistry to do it. There are winemakers. There are bread makers. You know, we can make giant pumpkins that are 2 tons.
Right.
You know, I don't know why they would do it, but they do. You know, and I don't know. It's just amazing to me. So I don't know. Like, I you know, I don't want to blame the Catholics, but they have to take responsibility for the nonsense of like what people believe demons are. Because it's not. The demons they're like radio waves. They're like microwaves, television, anything on the ultraviolet spectrum. Like, that's how they move. They act as waves, but when they enter their body, they're particles. And when they could somehow, somewhere manipulate it, they act as a wave again, fucking with your mind. Well, I mean, not, you know what I mean? No cursing. But it gets me amped because it's like people think it's not scientific, but it is. It's the only way. That's the thing. It's like, but so many people don't understand technology and science. And then, you know, but that's what makes atheists because they believe they know the science and they think that we're just a bunch of hokey people with no understanding of science. Like I told you before, one of our experts who's a PhD in pharmacology, has degrees in chemistry and physics. He even, I mean, he's so religious, it's not even funny. I mean, he's Christian. I mean, he's not.
Sure.
But he's hard. God bless you. God bless you. May God, every 5 seconds, God bless you. God bless you. I'm thinking, then I know you're wrong, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he really knows his science. Einstein believed in God. And everybody knows, like, look, the flaws in the Jewish faith or the Islamic faith is it's based on some angry, carnal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to fight it is to understand Christianity. It's the only way. Everybody says it. And I know we said it before, but it's the only religion founded on love.
Founded on love. Well said, man. Yeah, we got to wrap this up real quick in about 5 or 10 minutes. But what are your final thoughts on this? Because you're right. I think it comes down to carnal lusts, because the deception is what actually gets people to fall into that, right? Now, here's the thing. There's not really any... I mean, we can say that, yeah, we can speculate here on the existence of aliens and UFOs, but it's the deception and it's just the way people react to them and are very, very easily deceived as a result, because there's no denying it. People who claim to be alien abducted or follow that thing, it kind of becomes a bit of a cult. Like, and it becomes, that's what I'm trying to say here is, I mean, the pastor said it himself. It's like, well, they're more prone to dangerous behaviors, suicidal behaviors, all the stuff that we talked about with progressivism, which conclusively is no God, no faith. And this is what happens, right? Jeffrey Epstein. It's just...
Exactly. No, seriously. It's no, but oh my God. See, you're going to get me going again. But it's the thing, like, everybody believes demons are like, or like, aliens don't exist because there's no way they can make the travel. There's no way. There's no material, or else it would have been on the Bible. And it might, I mean, because we still don't understand those mechanical wheels yet. But until we find that material, it's never going to happen. So, and I doubt it seriously that on other planets they have that. Mm-hmm. But again, only thing we do know is that somehow, some way, these angels and God and Jesus are able to transport themselves from one universe to this planet. And that's the only thing we know. We have no idea how. So there is no way there's going to be some kind of aliens flying around in spaceships. It's an impossibility. It's just impossible. They'd be dead by the time they make it to this planet. So it doesn't make any sense. Why would they even come? Seriously. It would make no sense. You know, like the whole story of Superman, like this whole baby, the baby would have been dead by the time it got to, you know, seriously. And then let's say they were living on the spaceship, making like 10 generations that pass. It makes no sense. 10 generations of aliens, why would they want to come to this planet? They would have no idea why their, you know, great grandparents even came to Earth. It doesn't make any sense. The whole concept is nonsense. But again, you know, but again, it's because people believe that demons are real things that possess you, like the way the Catholics describe it. You know what I mean? With all those saints and, you know, and that's just not how it works. I'm telling you now, it's the only way we know is how it's described in the Bible. It's the only way we know. Mm-hmm. It's the only way. And that's the only way that actually makes scientific sense. Because, I mean, come on, you got to really think hard about this. Is an alien going to come from a black hole? No way. It's impossible. So, and that's why it's like, you know, I believe they're demonically possessed, but it's the same way how you're demonically, you know, possessed when you commit suicide, or if you're going to start watching porn, and because it's a hard thing. It's an addiction. Addiction is not something that you could take a pill to stop. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
There's no pills to stop your addictions. There aren't.
If anything, you just create another addiction if you replace it with.
Yeah. And it's because demons rule that realm and we just don't recognize. And that's why it's so hard to swallow your pride. Because the first thing in the 12-step program is to humble yourself. It's hard to do. That's the hardest thing every human has.
Right.
Because their pride is somehow, some way confused with self-love.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
No, it's a good way to put it. But we got to wrap this up here. I got to prep.
Sorry,
but thank you for your final. No, I think that's a good way to put it. I'm really glad that you said that demons rule that realm, and I actually stand by that too. So, Jenny, thank you for sending us in UFOs and the deception and everything. For those of you who thought this was going to be a sci-fi show, sorry, it wasn't. But the truth is, I think if you guys are still paying money chasing after aliens and whatnot, right? It's not that there's nothing wrong, but it's just you're chasing the wrong things. That's what they want. People make money off of doing these types of things, right? And people make money off of people's own accounts of being possessed or being abducted. And that's what sucks even more. So for those of you out there who are listening to this, I hope you got something out of today's episode. I know it was a little bit unconventional, but thank you guys for tuning into the American Made and Paid Show, and we will see you all soon. Take care.